Okay, everybody, welcome to Veterans Launching Ventures. My name is Courtney Sykes. I am the founder of Southeastern Aesthetics Institute, and this is just something I have been wanting to do specifically for our veterans. Oh man, we have so many that come through our doors at Southeastern, and whether you're a veteran that's interested in the beauty industry or not, I'm here to help you. One of my favorite things is donating my time to help anybody that would like to open a business. I think that's one of the best things that I've ever done. And I personally want to help anybody that's interested in that. But first and foremost, thank you for your service. Thank you for now kind of considering, doing something new and amazing to transform the lives of those that you choose to change their lives. I think that's the biggest thing is making sure that you make a difference in the lives of others. And that's what you want to do. Now that you've served your country and, did all that, we're here to support you with everything you need to be successful. So Veterans Launching Ventures, first and foremost, I want to mention that my personal cell phone number is, and I want you to text me anytime because this will be very specific to your business. Okay. Text me anytime. Here's my cell phone number, 803 629 0658. I'll say that again, 803 629 0658. So after I go through some of these items and help you with the LLC formation, we're going to talk about some financials and things of that sort. I would like you to reach out to me, okay, if you're a veteran, and we'll have some private time right here in my office. I'm also happy to hop on a Zoom call with you if that's preferable or a phone call. But we are located here in Richland County at 501 Spears Creek Church Road. Just come on, big old parking lot, park up in there and join me in my office and we'll chat privately because I want you just to think that, it could be a restaurant you want to open. It could be a counseling service you want to open. Could be beauty, and wellness related, which of course, that's what I'm going to kind of base things off of right now. But like I mentioned, this is really for anybody. So some of these numbers, I'll mention that and we'll go through and how you can kind of frame this for variations of your businesses that you would like to start. But I think it's great to have veterans owning businesses specifically because y'all know how to make a difference the best. You've done that in what you've done with your career in the military. So thank you for everything you've done and continue to do. And let's continue to make a difference in the lives of others through the services you plan to offer or products, right? So we're going to dive right into that. We're going to begin over here. And while this says spa management, we're going to talk about a couple of things that you might find interesting, specifically how to correctly and legally format your business for W-2 employees. You might want to get into room renting. You might decide you want to purchase a building or sublease out a space that you are leasing. And so that's part of things too. There's plenty of people looking for places to rent. So that's one thing that I think is great to look at, but we want to look and see what those variations are. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, some of the things we're going to really discuss here are liability insurance guidelines, perfect profitability, which is key, things like payroll systems and setup, understanding tax liabilities and employer matching, creating an employee handbook and employee contracts, W-2 employees versus room renters, what legal documentation to have in place, very important, as well as some of the things that we need to do specific to annual employee evaluations, 90-day trial runs, and then things like employee perks and benefits. So, before we get into the what's and the what have yous and the services and what you're doing in your business, you need to understand business as a whole. And I think some of these topics really comprise a lot of that. Okay. So some of these things, again, if you want to look at some of these lectures specific to this content as it's related to beauty and wellness, I'll gear you in that direction because I've already recorded these lectures based on that. So I'm actually going to just pull some information and tell you how a veteran launching a business can benefit from some of these items. And then, of course, you can look at these very specifically. I'll send you the video links to where you can watch them. But if you'll write down in your notes that it's important for you to work off of 30% profit margins or higher, okay? That is a very key element to running a business of any kind. If you're going to be in the restaurant industry, we have a DHEC approved cafeteria here. So we actually work off of these numbers and margins and metrics all the time. Every item, whether it's a product or a service, bare minimum needs to be 30%. Now, if it's 50%, that's even better. But if something's kind of gearing towards 30% or less than 30%, specifically less than 30% in profit margins, meaning you've calculated what the product costs, what the service or product costs, and then you take out your expenses. That's important. Then you're going to calculate what those profit margins are. What's the business actually making? If it's in the 20th percentile, then we need to pull it off of our menu, or we need to look at how to reduce some of our overhead costs. So if you understand, and I put that very specifically right there, if you understand that, you will be very successful for long periods of time. So I want you to write down to look at your profit margins at least quarterly, and then you'll be good to go, because that way you're going to look at variations that change. Are gloves raising in cost? Are my vendors for food raising their prices? Do we need to revisit that with them? So 30% profit margins is key. I also want you, and this is going in a couple different directions here, but review all your menus and websites annually, specifically from the consumer facing end. I want you to look at profit margins quarterly. Okay. But menus and customer facing items like website design, at least look at that once a year. So the first and foremost thing I need you to do is make sure you have a calendar. Make sure you put everything on that calendar for the entire year. Go ahead and jump into the next year or 2 years beyond your current year and start mapping everything out. Checks and balances are key, and being consistent in how you check everything is very, very important. Okay. So we're going to mainly focus on those 2 items here. Okay. Then the last bullet point, okay, I want to look at this one. Ensure that your website, email marketing, and social media channels flow well with all your promotions. I've got an amazing marketing lecture that you would like to watch too. And in fact, I've got 2 of them, Marketing 101, and then also another one that deals with the plan, how to map out the plan, and then actually a marketing calendar. It's called Intentional Marketing is the class. So I'll send you that if you're interested, because there's so many things to dive into with business that really just one lecture doesn't cover it all, but this really just opens your eyes to things to look at. So make sure it flows well with all your promotions. Make sure to email and communicate all your promotions and events to your staff in order for them to carry out your mission and vision. That is very important too. So making sure everything is consistent, everything is communicated. Communication is key. Okay, and then if you were to get into any sort of menu creation, and again, I like to dive into things from all types of businesses, keep your menu short, sweet, and to the point, and have an added value plan added in there. So an added value proposition. This is a great example of that from a business called Skin Laundry. What I like about their menu, and I continue to like it, is that they have one service essentially, and then they really bundle it together. And then they do a club membership. So I love bundles and I love membership options. And the thing is that you can actually cancel your membership. Of course, at the bottom of this one, 3-month minimum for those memberships, but then nothing rolls over, and then they don't have to renew after that. I mean, I think coming away from these annual memberships is really important. So price your items with cushion to run promotions, create bundles, and put together discounted packages. Ensure you're covering all of your costs, inclusive of licensing, insurance, building costs, and more. So screenshot this menu and connect with me. So just gave you my cell phone number, 803-629-0658. Text me, right? I want you to text me and send me your menu ideas. That's really where you need to begin. So we're going to look at some financial forecasting in a separate presentation in just a few minutes, but just keep in mind that the menu is really key. Whether it's a product-based menu, your offerings of products, whether it's services like this, or things like a food menu. Whatever it is you're planning on doing, we need to have a really concise menu that speaks to your clients, and that's really important. So let's talk about that one when you're ready. Let me know. Okay, and then here is the thing. I would like to personally help y'all with this part. Let me know when you're interested, of course. We can meet in person, or I can help you via Zoom. But the first thing you're going to do is go to irs.gov and create something known as a federal tax ID number. This is like a social security number for your business. Okay, so this is important. You want to make sure that you have that. It is free, and I'll show you how to do it right now. So if you go to irs.gov, right here, irs.gov, and you actually click on apply for an employer ID number. Down here, you're going to scroll where it says apply online now. When you get to this section, you're going to click on begin application. Then you're going to click on limited liability company right here. Do not ever click sole proprietorship. LLCs are protected in terms of your personal assets. So if you were to sign up as a sole proprietorship and you were to go into bankruptcy, with that business entity, or owe something from that business entity, your lenders or whoever you owe will take your personal assets. Whereas LLCs, that's something that protects your personal assets. It's its own entity altogether, and you can hire employees. You can't hire employees as a sole proprietor, so keep that in mind. I always suggest LLCs. You're going to click on continue, continue again. Then how many members are in your LLC? I always suggest just to put yourself, so that would be one. And then you're going to click your state. Of course, we personally are in South Carolina, but you're going to choose wherever you plan to operate. We're going to click continue and then continue again. Once you get to this point, you're going to click start a new business. And then you're going to enter all of this information. This takes about 5 minutes and it's completely free, but just make sure you have your business name ready to go when you do that one. So the IRS one's pretty easy to do. You can do that one on your own. But I will say this next one, the Department of Revenue filing, let me know if you have questions about this. I'm more than happy to help you. It takes a little bit more of just some wherewithal about the website. You need to make sure you're clicking on the correct tax brackets for that one. But for Department of Revenue, you're actually going to obtain something known as a state withholding number, okay? And that is very important. You have to have the federal tax ID from the IRS, which is your federal requirement. Your state tax requirement, the state tax withholding number, you will obtain that through the Department of Revenue. And just write down in your notes that this is also where you obtain your resale certificate if you want to retail products. Okay, very, very important. You will also have an accountant log in and help you with your QuickBooks software system. They're going to log in and they're going to help you pay your sales tax every single month, okay? So you're going to have an accounting software. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but you need to make sure that that accountant helps to log in and pay your sales tax every single month. You can absolutely do it on your own, but I'll make some recommendations on accountants in just a minute. I highly recommend just letting them do it. You're going to pull a report for them through your point of sale system. Let's say you pay or you bring in $1,000 in product sales that month. You need to pay 8% of $1,000 to the Department of Revenue that month on your sales tax. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Then next one, you're going to do the Secretary of State filing. This one is going to help you create something known as a certificate of existence. So sometimes people will do that step first before they do the IRS Department of Revenue. I would suggest doing Secretary of State after you do those first two, and then register your LLC. You will obtain the certificate of existence in the mail. You will need those 3 items to then go and open a business bank account. That is very, very important. Okay. Then look at number 4 there where it says register with the county. You do need to check the county that you're in. For example, Richland County requires a business license, whereas Kershaw County here in South Carolina does not. So it's important to know that this is by county. So it says county in all capital letters there. Make sure you check your county first and see if they require a business license. What a business license is generally around $60 to start with. Then every year thereafter, it's going to be based on your gross income. So keep that in mind. If you make a profit, it's going to be based on that for the next year, and you'll pay some sort of a percentage of it, okay? Just keep that in mind. Then you're going to open a business bank account with an FDIC insured bank. I always suggest to place a certain amount of money. You'll see I put 500 to 5,000 or more in the account to begin purchasing items for your company and not spending money from your personal bank account for business expenses. This initial deposit will be titled as your owner's investment in your QuickBooks or accounting ledger. That is very, very important. So with that being said, you're going to need to hire an accountant, right? At that point, you're going to have them log in to your QuickBooks account. So write that down. I need you to obtain a QuickBooks accounting software. It's pretty simple to set up, and then your accountant can then help you. If you are located here in South Carolina, I suggest calling Scott & Co. They are located on Main Street in Columbia, South Carolina. They love helping small business owners, so definitely check them out. Then you're going to take out a liability insurance policy and a contents of the building insurance policy, because you've got to make sure you have both liability insurance if you're performing services on the public or are selling products, by the way, that touch people's skin or are ingested in some sort of way. You want to make sure you cover your services and products. And then contents of the building insurance covers your property. So property insurance, make sure that you do have those two policies, okay? Okay. And then I always suggest going with ADP payroll to set yourself up as a W-2 employee of your own company every single time. So that is really, really key. We'll look at some numbers in just a minute on how you would actually do that. But if you're just a one-person provider, I kind of specialize in helping people set up as a one-person provider in their businesses, and then you can grow from there. So let's just imagine you're opening a business where it's just you. You're going to pay yourself a commission, okay, a percentage of what you're bringing into the company. And we'll talk about those percentages in just a minute. But you're going to set yourself up as a W-2 employee of your own company, okay? Then some of this other stuff is specific to the beauty industry specifically. So I do have these recorded separately, like I mentioned, but let's look at this. I mean, if you are going to be service-based, everything needs to be based on appointment booking systems and online booking. So check your credit card processors for excessive fees. So 1.9%, you should not be paying more to merchant services fees, more than 1.9% of your intake of your revenue. That is key. So if you're charging credit cards, and you will, because clients are going to utilize those as options, make sure no more than 1.9% is going towards merchant services. So for your notes, if y'all will write down that you need to check your merchant services processing fees at least quarterly. They can change, okay? Nobody's necessarily locked in. So keep that in mind. Check that quarterly for me and you're good to go, okay? Then let's take a look at this. So W-2 employees definitions. I think that's important to know. Let's put our business hats on for a minute and let's say we're going to hire someone in the future. So this is what you need to think about. Companies withhold W-2 workers, Social Security and Medicare taxes and pay employer payroll taxes. Guess what? Y'all don't have to worry about that if you hire a payroll company such as ADP Payroll. So keep that in mind. Write that down. That is something that ADP handles. You don't have to worry about that and calculate it. I have done this by hand before and downloaded tax tables and done all that by hand. And I'm telling you, you don't want to do it. So that is something that is done through payroll, and that is easy enough. You don't have to worry about that. So keep that in mind. Utilize that payroll company. They're there to help you. So companies control clock hours worked, dress code, services, and quality of services performed, hold annual evaluation meetings, lead and motivate workers to succeed, and more. So if you're looking to hire a W-2 employee, be ready for some of those things. You know, have those standards set in place. Make sure you're ready to hire before you do. That's key, right? Then for these employees that you're going to have in the future, I want you to think about providing direction, education, and expectations, right? Ensure communication at all times. Compensation must match industry and area averages with possibilities for bonuses and additional compensation. Beating your competition, ideally with benefits. I like this because, you know, you want to be prepared to hire people. And while this is more of a discussion of a single person thing, person business before you get into this, it's good to just go ahead and think about it because it might make you think, well, I do want to hire employees one day, or maybe I don't want to do that. And there's so many people that hire employees, honestly, that aren't ready to do it and don't have the finances to do it. So don't do that. Everybody deserves to be paid at least an hourly wage plus commission in some sort of service-based industry. So just think about that. I kind of really, I want you to shy away from taking positions that are commission only. I really do, because that's very hard for most people to be able to commit to. You've got to have a regular pay schedule. So hourly at the very least, of course, salary would be best. And then benefits options. If you're looking for benefits options when you get to that place, reach out and let me know. This is always one of those moments when I'm doing business consulting or helping people where it's buildable. It's not something that you can just do all at one time, right? So consulting is a lifelong journey when it comes to business entrepreneurship. So start with the basics. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself with the W-2 employee training here, but it's good to know and think about. But I really want you to think about that LLC formation, which we talked about just a minute ago. And your menu, let's talk about that first and then get into this. So those are some fun things to think about. Then, if you're going to have room renters, I always say you might have already picked out your space. And maybe you're here as a veteran because you're thinking, well, I'm a veteran and I've already, opened a business and I've already got this going on. And maybe I've got some additional rooms. Maybe I want to kind of cut back and focus on me and what I'm doing, but I've got this space. So here's what you need to make sure that you do have before you rent out rooms to people. Is make sure you have a complete HR file on these individuals for sure. Make sure you have a contract. So I'm making myself a note because I want to email this out to a couple of my students because I just lectured this the other day. I'm going to email this to you too. So let me know that you would like this actual contract. I've got contracts all day long for whatever it is you need. But I want you to create a serious legal contract for those room renters. Do not mix merchant services accounts and appointment booking systems, meaning only collect rent from these people. If you're going to go room rental, then that's all it needs to be, renting out rooms. Okay. Then you're going to collect a copy of their federal tax ID number, state withholding number, county business license if applicable, their professional license if applicable, and then most importantly, insurance documentation. You want to make sure they have liability insurance as well as property insurance to cover anything that may come up while they are room renting from you. So keep that in mind there. Keep that in mind there. Okay. And going back to W-2 employees for just a minute, I mean, look at what I have here. I also have these employee contracts for you, so reach out to me on that one as well. I've got my email address at the end of this slideshow. So employee contracts are well thought out. They're part of the business culture, meaning already completed with zero room for employee questions or adjustments. So make sure that is already in place. This creates continuity, okay? Employees trust businesses that have set expectations and regulations. Employees do not have respect for companies that don't have these important items set up from the start. They will find a way to complain, second guess, and undermine your leadership. Okay. Employee handbooks are detailed documents that always change and evolve over time. Set this up in Google Docs because you can change it and revise it. It's a moving document all the time. Always ensure a revision date is set up and sent to all employees regarding each change and revision. So there's so many different aspects to business ownership, which I love because I love organization. I love calendars. I love timelines. I like that part of it. So in order to have employees, you do need to do that. And frankly, even if you don't have employees, you need to do it for your business anyways. Having checks and balances, having schedules, having things in place, protocols and handbooks and all that is very key to long-term success. So I can't wait to work with you individually, veterans, to find out what you like and what you're interested in doing, because honestly, I mean, the world needs what you have to give. It does. So we're here to make that happen for sure. This is a copy of a W-4 form, which you would fill out for employees and then enter in the payroll system. But you can enter it for yourself and put it in your payroll system too, because you're going to be a W-2 employee of your own company, like I said. And here's the steps on how to do this. So when you do obtain this lecture, definitely reach out to me. I'll send you a copy of these documents as well. That way you can have a copy of these PDFs. Okay. Then I've got some fun information here about appointment booking systems. I think this is really key to dive into. Make sure you check them out. Find something that works for you. And once I figure out what your needs are specifically, I can make some recommendations. But this is kind of an inside look on ours. I mean, we use MindBody. I like MindBody. I've got a bunch of different options. I also love Gloss Genius. If you're a beauty practitioner, for sure, love that one. But make sure all your payment options are set up, your service providers, menu of services. Read the customer facing side of that for sure. Make sure it's good to go, customer facing side. And then look on the back end. There's many different things you can set up for booking, such as text messaging settings, email settings, and manager tools, which you'll notice there to the left. So pay attention to those. I think one thing that's really interesting, if you're doing more of a service-based moment or business for your clients, texting them or having the appointment booking system text them not only 24 hours ahead of time, but at least 2 hours ahead of their appointment schedule with you is amazing if it can do that, because it's going to help make sure that they get to you in time. They can kind of stop what they're doing, get to you in time. So check your text message settings. I'm making myself a note here. Check your text messaging settings and make sure that the emails and the texting reminders really help. And it's set up for success. You want to help your clients get set up for success when they're coming to spend money with you. Then make sure you have a good client data portal as well as areas for client consent forms. That is so important. So making sure you jot down notes for clients if it's service-based, so that way you're always following up, you know where you left off with that client. Any notes from a session you had with a client, that's key. Customer forms, consent forms are very important if applicable here. Of course, if you're service-based, so making sure that that is integrated in your point of sale system. Everything is digital now, which I think is great. You can log in from your, computer anywhere and really check in on your clients and make sure everybody is set up for success. And liability wise, it's good to make sure all that's documented as well. And then again, I mentioned payroll, but this is kind of a screenshot of ADP and just their banking information here. Set up your banking information for direct deposits. Set yourself up as a W-2 employee of your own company and decide if you want the frequency of payroll to be weekly or biweekly. I think most people prefer weekly. You get a little bit of cost savings with biweekly. Decide on the day of the week to run payroll. And my recommendation is to run it on Thursday to direct deposit on Fridays for you, okay? Meaning you're going to run a sales report, your point of sale system from Thursday a.m. to Wednesday p.m. of the previous week. Okay, so then you're going to pull those numbers. You're going to pay yourself a percentage, which I'm going to show you, of that total, and then you're good to go. You're going to add your business operations account, banking and routing information to pull from on payroll day. So it's super simple to do. So far, I mean, I've told you a couple things to put on your calendar. You need to make sure that you put on your calendar to check your merchant services numbers at least quarterly. Payroll, you're going to run it every Thursday morning. Okay. What else? We mentioned a couple of other things. So just also, if you hire employees, we didn't even get that far, but you need to make sure they are put on an annual meeting schedule with you, as well as a 90-day trial period with you. So a couple of things to make sure you put on the schedule. Very key to running a business. Here's a couple of other payroll features, which I find interesting here too. I'll send you this presentation. Then just make sure you save that cell phone number there. Text me anytime, and then email me too. I want to help y'all individually. I can't wait to help you individually, my veterans, and you're going to be successful in everything that you do. Okay. We got another thing we're going to get into here. I want to look at some expenses with you. So let's look at startup costs, expenses, and run some financials. Okay, we're going to look at that. So startup cost. Let's say you have a brick and mortar location. This is everything you need to open your doors on day one, from furniture to equipment, back bar supplies and inventory on hand. Technology is key. Okay. So just think about that and, let me know if you need help here. I can help you find some good cost savings items that you need for all of those things. So technology and retail and merchandise, put down that that is optional. You can retail items if you want to. That may be what you primarily want to do. So let's look at cash flow as it comes to that and how you have to have your marketing strategy set up very strategically if you want to operate mostly retail based. So again, that's more that private discussion that we can have together. Okay. Then lease deposit is going to be key here. Your insurance, liability and property insurance for the first month payment is going to be in the startup cost column, as well as licensing fees where applicable, dependent upon the county you're in. If it's a salon-based business, of course, you're going to need to have that salon license. And then if you're in the restaurant industry, it's going to need to be a DHEC license. So a couple different things. It just depends on what kind of business you're looking to do. So as you're watching this, text me. Tell me what kind of business you're interested in opening up and how I can support you in that. Because I really want to make sure that y'all are good to go so we can make sure these startup costs are low and we can get out the best, value for our customers as humanly possible. That's the key. Okay. And then fixed monthly expenses are very important. So monthly lease payments, liability insurance, and property insurance, subscription fees for things like appointment booking systems and point of sale systems, payroll costs, if applicable, that can be optional in the beginning, utilities, and then things like office supplies, back bar supplies, and inventory on hand is going to be very important too. I'll always say if you can get your startup expenses less than $5,000 a month, you don't necessarily need to allocate a loan payment towards this. And I say that for a couple of reasons, but connect with me on what your business needs are, because many businesses do need more than $5,000 to start up. But if we can start it for less, that's not a bad thing. So let's kind of work on that together. So reach out to me and let me know, and we'll get that startup list together. And then we can actually put together a firm monthly expense list. So make sure that you screenshot this, but also again, reach out to me so I can send you these PDF slideshows. Okay, let me take a look with you on one particular financial equation. And there's a bunch of these. So again, this is more of an introductory conversation so we can get started together. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. Okay. And then I've got all of these in greater detail in separate lectures, but let's say you want to open a medical spa business and you love doing services like this, okay? And you can resonate this with other kinds of businesses for certain. But this is a good example. So let's say we're going to do a $299 laser resurfacing. We're going to see 6 clients a day, 5 working days per week. We're going to multiply that together to get 8,970 for the weekly revenue. Then I'll always multiply this number, folks, by 50 weeks to give yourselves 2 weeks paid vacation. That's kind of my minimum. So I would change that if, let's say, you only want to operate this business so many weeks out of the year. So these are things and variations that you can change, okay? I can even help you very specifically by putting together an Excel spreadsheet that supports your numbers. So this is just, again, an introduction. It's going to depend on what you've got going on. And again, I'd love to help you with this. So send me your menu and I can help you come up with a very customized Excel spreadsheet that dives into this. And you can actually change some of those numbers around, and I'll make sure the equations are in there for you so that you can see how that is. But math can be fun, okay? When it comes to business, it is fun. I promise we'll make it that way. But looking at your weekly revenue there times 50 weeks, that's going to be 448,500 for the year. In this equation, I'm going to put a little bit more to the business. So 70% back into the business, 30% personal to you is going to be the 30% on top of the 448,500, which equates to be 134,550. So you can see there under the business and the personal, how that equates down to a monthly budget, dividing that out by 4 weeks because there's generally 4 weeks in a month, you get your weekly totals there. So it gives you a snapshot of what to expect on a high-end pro forma, high-end forecast, okay? So here's what you can expect. But I always say, look at this on the low end projection because that is really the most important thing. If you can actually project on a low end and fit your expenses in this low end business budget, let's run these numbers down and then I'm going to give you your monthly budget and we're going to talk about that. Okay. So let's say you've got a $150 service, 4 clients a day, 5 working days per week. Revenue altogether is going to be $3,000 times 50 weeks to give yourselves 2 weeks paid vacation is going to be $150,000 for the year. 70% of that figure is $105,000 back into the business. Now you can variate those percentages. I always say at least do 60-40, 60 for the business, 40% personal. If your expenses are low, you can actually switch that around to 60% for you, 40% for the business. The reason I chose 70% business, 30% here is because of the equipment loans associated with these types of businesses. So you see how this really can change based on what you're doing. So once I find that out, we can work together to make sure you're successful. Okay. Then you've got your business accounts, you've got your personal accounts, and let's look at the business for example here. That $105,000 per year budget, we're going to divide that by 12. You're going to get $8,750 monthly budget. Okay. I would say that's a pretty hefty monthly budget. I would suggest, here's my suggestion. I would put about 5 or 6,000 into your monthly budget from rent, utilities, professional fees, supplies, back bar supplies, inventory on hand. If you want to have a little cash available to purchase things for retail, that's the bucket you'll get that out of as well. But I would try to put at least $2,000 into a money market savings account through your bank. Okay. So when you go and create this business operations account at your bank, I would suggest creating a money market savings account. Right now, they are yielding about 4.5% interest, which is fantastic. So just make sure that you're putting as much money aside into that money market savings account. That really needs to be a part of your monthly budget and your monthly expenses is putting as much money aside as you can that earns interest. That is amazing. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that monthly budget. And then down to personal, you're going to see where that generates $937.50 per week. And hey, this is great for first year in business. You're paying yourself. That is number one goal. What I would like to see is that you kind of toggle between the high end and low end forecast, right? So this really gives you what to really focus on in marketing. And again, that's that separate class. I want you to watch my intentional marketing lecture on that so you understand how to market these items. So if these are your numbers, and I like these numbers between the high end and the low end, I like these numbers. So those are the services I would market all day, every day in some form or fashion. So I would do YouTube videos and reels and all the marketing of all time on laser resurfacing and radio frequency skin tightening, 1000%. So remember those metrics when you are focusing in on your business. So this gives you a little introduction on what you need to do. I need to find out more information about what you're interested in doing so we can connect together and be helpful to you. So Veterans Launching Ventures, you are amazing. I know you have so many things to give to the world and I can't wait to help you do it. So again, watch this, get some ideas flowing, and then let's connect privately. My number is 803-629-0658. Reach out to me. I would love, love, love to help you with your business. Let's do it, okay? Let's do it. You have a great day, and I can't wait to hear from you. Bye-bye.